Hello everyone. Just another random upload for you guys today. Just some random thoughts that have been milling around my mind. You know, I've been obviously writing this book, and I've been looking at the aftermath of the flood. And doing this book has made me brush up on just biblical history and reading the actual Bible in Genesis. You know, I mean, like I said, in the years I've been doing this, I've gone over the book many times, but it's been a while since I've just actually read Genesis, you know, word for word, to get the quotes I need for the book. And it's just interesting, all these different theories they've got to explain how the Nephilim came to be after the flood. And I'm going through this whole Ham's lineage, you know, and his son Canaan and Cush, and how Canaan gave birth to all the tribes that end in It, basically, and how these seem to be the tribes that predominantly had a Nephilim within them. And then obviously go down the line of Cush, who gave birth to Nimrod, and Nimrod was the leader of Babylon, basically, in the land of Shinar, and how he built the Tower of Babel. And how there's just such this quick, short passage in Genesis, I think it's 11, where it just explains how all the people got together as one in the land of Shinar and built a giant tower to get to heaven. And then God swiftly put an end to that, and he was like, nope, absolutely not. And he just made them all confused. Languages all get separated everywhere, and they all just get scattered across the world, you know. And then it just quickly moves on to the line of Shem and Abram, and that's it. We have the story of Abraham from then on. And it's just so quickly summarized, isn't it, this passage in Genesis, which summarizes this antediluvian age, you know, where there were giants in the earth because the sons of God came unto the daughters of men. God saw the world was completely wicked. They are told Noah to build an ark, sent a flood, and then after a while, you know, sorry, I'm just at a roundabout here, got to pay attention. And then after a while, you know, Noah decides, you know what, I'm going to build a vineyard, I'm going to have a drink. I think I've earned it, you know. Passes out. His son Ham massively disrespects him. So then he ends up, you know, getting cursed. And then we have this short story of, you know, all the tables of nations get built. And then there's this story of the Tower of Babel, and then people get scattered, and then it's Abraham. And it's just so quick, they quickly bam, 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 you know, this hit all these points of the antediluvian age, the quick summary of what happened after the flood, and then we have the story of Abram, you know, and everything that comes afterwards. And I was just thinking about just all the theories that go with this story. It's fascinating, you know, it's fascinating. And what Nimrod represented, you know, and how it's possible that he created, well, it's described as a mighty hunter, you know, a mighty man. And the word Gibberine that's used is the same word that's often referred to when talking about Nephilim. But he wasn't a Nephilim, it seemed. He was just a normal man, you know what I mean? He came from, obviously, he was the son of Cush. And it's just trying to theorize, like, how did he get Nephilimified? That's the word, I suppose, or what was going on there? And I think I was reading Gary Wayne's book, and I was explaining how, you know, Nimrod seemed to be a huge fan of the antediluvian kingship. It's like he discovered something about that which he just really loved and wanted to recreate, you know. And he was basically striving to become Nephilim-like, or like a giant king, you know, of some kind. And there's theories as to what happened there. And obviously we're trying to figure out, how did the Nephilim come back after the flood? And it seems like Nimrod played a huge part in this. And I know Rob Skeever did so much research and work on this subject himself, you know, trying to explain how this happened. And some scratches on my leg there. He theorized, you know, that the genetics of the Nephilim were in all the other children of Noah, including their wives. And it was the rebellious act and the curse that was put on Ham specifically, that sin reactivated the corrupted DNA. And it was through his lineage from then on that we had the Nephilim begin to appear. And it's possible that Nimrod was one of these Nephilim that appeared, you know, from the lineage of Ham down to Cush down to Nimrod. And obviously it was through Canaan as well that his people became all these Nephilim tribes. So it's an interesting theory that, you know, sin in some way, the spiritual nature of things works with the physical nature of things as well. They go hand in hand. And it's as though because obviously through the line of Japheth, there's no issues, you know. And it's interesting that, you know, they lived righteously, you know, Shem and Japheth. And they didn't have any issues, but Ham didn't. He was sinful. He didn't show the proper respect to his father. And that's kind of an analogous to the idea that he shows no respect to the father either, you know. And it's this sin within his heart made the evil of the corruption of the DNA manifest. And there's something interesting about that concept. And I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's actually what happened. There's other theories as well. You know, there's the second incursion theory, which I explained the other day, in the other video earlier this week. And then obviously there's that other idea that Nephilim just survived the flood and they carried on. Gary Wayne, you know, basically just says in his book, which is another interesting one, that it was through a rediscovery of the genetic manipulation science by the people after the flood that Nephilim came back. So it said that Enoch, you know, in the antediluvian age, Enoch, along with his sons Lamech, and basically all of Cain's lineage towards the end of the flood, basically occulted all of the knowledge they had about how to mess with the nature of reality, basically, including the flesh and DNA. And he basically hid it in vaults under the ground. And also they occulted the knowledge in hieroglyphs onto pillars, which would survive a flood, you know, in stone, basically. And it was a rediscovery of these pillars, which had information about the 7 sacred sciences, but also information about where to find the vaults in which Enoch had buried a lot of information as well about how to continue what they were doing before the flood, you know, controlling reality and basically manipulating DNA and how to become like gods, you know. It's basically, that's what, you know, this whole alchemical Gnostic stuff is. It's what secret societies believe and follow. It's the knowledge they believe they have, you know. And that's how the Nephilim corruption came back after the flood. Not only did Nephilim survive, but it's also they quickly unearthed the knowledge and started to propagate it through mankind again, and started to corrupt mankind again, which is why, you know, it was, you know, commanded to the people of Israel after they, you know, the long descendants of Abram, you know, after they suffered slavery in Egypt for 4 generations. It says, you know, during that time, the Amorites' sin hasn't quite come to full fruition yet, but in 4 generations' time, it'll be so bad, judgment's going to come upon them, you know, and you will have to basically annihilate them all. And he's serious, you know, men, women, and children and all, get rid of them, annihilate them, you know. And I believe they were talking about, you know, the Nephilim corruption, the genetic corruption that was going on in these places. And it was fascinating as well, because Gary Wayne was talking in his book that, and it says in the Table of Nations, you know, that the descendants of Canaan bordered, well, they dominated a lot of land, you know, all throughout Jordan as well, but they also bordered Sodom and Gomorrah. And he speculated, even though there's no direct biblical evidence for this, he was speculating that it was the Nephilim influence bordering Sodom and Gomorrah which made Sodom and Gomorrah so corrupt. And I'm inclined to believe that. It just seems, it doesn't seem like a coincidence, because you'll notice in as well in Genesis 10 when it's talking about how Ham was walking on his father Noah naked, you know, and basically ridiculed him and said to his brothers, "Hey, come check out Dad. He's a mess," you know. And they were like, "Mate, show him some respect," you know. But it's interesting that it makes it clear every time it mentions Ham in these sections. Twice it makes it clear, Ham brackets the father of Canaan. You know, whenever it mentions Ham, it says Ham, who is the father of Canaan. And by this point, you don't know that. And you don't know why that's important, you know. And this part of Genesis seems to be written in a way which is apparent. Well, the author thinks it should be apparent to the reader what that means and why it's important that he is the father of Canaan and why Canaan is such a big deal. Because obviously it's the land of the Canaanites which is being retaken, and in which the tribes are being commanded, you know, for Israel to wipe out utterly. And I think it's also interesting that it even says, you know, in the Bible, God's orders, from Moses down to his people, is do not think I am giving you this land because of your righteousness. I am only destroying them and wiping them out of that land because of their sin. Not because you're righteous. You're not getting this land gifted for how great you are, because you haven't been that great up until now. You've been rebellious all the way. I'm only getting rid of these to fulfill the covenant I promised your forefathers with Abram, and also they are so awful that I am just destroying them. I am wiping them out of the table of nations. They are gone, and I haven't quite got there thoroughly yet, but from what I understand, they fail. They don't fully wipe them out. I think they let the Philistines live, which may also be a reason why the nothing you've continued even after that into the modern day. But that's a whole theory for another time, which I don't want to really expound upon now. But I guess all I'm doing is sharing with you just the research I've been doing currently and where I'm up to in my book. I thought I'd like to verbalize it so I can hear what it sounds like, and which is what I'm doing with you guys right now. But yeah, it's just so interesting. It is so interesting to just get into the Bible again, actually start reading it and comparing notes with what other researchers have done and different perspectives on what actually was going on there, because you get such little information. Seemingly, it seems like there's such little information here. There's quick descriptors moving on from scene to scene, then the story of Abraham, But when you actually look into it with context, it's deep. There's so much information in these few sentences we have, in these few paragraphs. Yeah. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I've got to go get my food. But thanks for listening, and as always, God bless.